Why are property prices coming down, and what can you do about it, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord? Well, first of all, there's loads of reasons why property prices will come down, but the main big one is mortgage interest rates. Now, if you've got a mortgage, you've probably seen this everywhere. Mortgage interest rates have gone up, which means property prices have to come down. Inevitable. I love that there are some people that are optimistic and think that that's not going to happen, but it has to happen. It's basic economics. It's basic supply and demand. Let me explain. If you've got a property that's £200 a month, then that property has a mortgage payment. I'm just making these figures up. These are not accurate. That mortgage payment would be, say, £1,000 a month. And there are a lot of people that can afford a £200,000 house and pay £1,000 a month for a mortgage. So therefore, there is a lot of demand for that property, and it's going to sell quickly. Now, over the last couple of years, we have enjoyed, and I bet a lot of people have not maximised on really low interest rates. But now the interest rates have gone up. That same £200,000 house that was going to be a mortgage payment of £1,000 a month is now a mortgage payment of £1,500 a month. That means there are less people that can afford that mortgage payment. And when there are less people that can afford that mortgage payment to buy that house, it unfortunately means that there is less demand, and therefore that property won't sell, or will just be harder to sell because there are less people that can buy it. And when there's less people that can buy a property, the demand is low, the prices will come down until they reach that point, that price point where enough people can afford to buy it and there's enough demand at the certain price point. And that's why you always see properties on Rightmove that go on the market at 200,000 and then a month later they drop down to 190 and they don't sell, and then a month later they drop down to 180 and they do sell. Property prices have to go in line with demand, and a property will keep reducing its price until it reaches that price point where somebody can buy it. And it's not the estate agent that decides that, it's not the seller that decides that. The estate agent's not buying the property, the estate agent can't force somebody to buy the property at a certain price, and the seller certainly can't do that either. It's purely 100% down to the buyer's market. Now, yeah, you could bring in certain things like, is the estate agent marketing the property in the right way? Are they showing it in its best light? Are they showing the best features? Are they making enough phone calls? Are they sending the details to enough people? Obviously, there are all of those things that come into question. But if you're talking about general property prices, buying markets, and all of those things, it comes back to basic economics. What then happens is when one property meets that price point where there is enough demand for it to sell, then the other properties follow. And that includes properties that come onto the market. They see this property is sold at 180,000, so we'll put our property price around that sort of level based on the condition of the property, the quality of it, and it will be based on that benchmark of, oh, that property has sold, so that must be the rough value of these types of properties. And then the other properties follow suit. And then it continues like that, almost like a spiral, where property prices have to continue to meet the demand. Now, again, what will happen is, in this current example, we're in 2023 right now, and at the beginning of 2023, I forecasted a 10% reduction in property prices generally across the board. And I think that's a fair assumption. And what's going to happen is that will be higher in some areas, lower in other areas, but generally speaking across the board it's going to be about 10%. Now, the reason for that is because if you have a 10% reduction in property price, it starts to get to that level where people can start affording those property prices again with the current mortgage rates, because I also think the current mortgage rates are going to start reducing. So what I basically mean by all of this is that the property prices have to meet the interest rates. They have to. So if the interest rates go up, mortgage rates go up, property prices come down. If mortgage rates go down, property prices can go up. It's as basic as that. So be prepared in both ways. If you're already a property owner, your property price is going to go down. If you are not yet a property owner and you want to buy a property, then yes, you might be able to get a lower price, but you're also going to pay a much higher mortgage rate for it than you would have done 12 months ago. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You might be paying less for a property, but you're going to be paying more each month. A little while ago, you might have been paying less each month, but you'll be paying more for the property. So it's swings and roundabouts, I guess. But what can you do about it, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord? Now, of course, some of you are going to have mortgages that you're going to need to renew. What I would suggest is get yourself into the mindset of you might not make as much profit each month as you have been on your rental property. Might not.